What is up, guys? Again, NotTheWorst here, bringing another Black Desert online video, and today we are revisiting a silver breakdown spot in the similar vein of the Kadri video we did last week. If you haven't taken a look at that one, it's definitely worth a watch. But we are revamping a few of the Valencia spots because we also have a few interesting events that are going on, as well as some updates to these zones that occurred. So, of course, we've got a nice drop rate event, but more so that's appealing to this spot is the treasure event, which allows the Rhoneros infinite HP potion piece to drop in Crescents as well. So the idea here is kind of hedging that versus Rhoneros, what's more worth your time money-wise here. And the results are that it is Crescents by a landslide over Rhoneros for sure. Other things that have changed, not quite as strong a difference with Kadri, since Kadri has its own elites and gatekeeper spawns. These spawns were updated, so instead of fighting the individual gatekeeper or at Kadri where you have the elites in their standard spots, they actually can spawn randomly while you're killing mobs in the area, which is very nice at Kadri if you did see that video. Crescents, we don't have that, but we do have the gatekeeper spawn. I will tell you, I saw far less gatekeepers at Crescents than I did at Kadri, which was kind of interesting. To see, could have just been an RNG kind of swingy thing amongst the hours that we did, but it was a pretty heavy difference, which we'll take a look at when we see the spreadsheets. How they work, though, is they just spawn randomly. Upon killing mobs, there's a chance you'll spawn one. They are now soloable, so it's not like they're in your way and just going to be a problem. So season gear, you could very easily handle a gatekeeper. It may take a few minutes. The nicer thing, though, is that it does spawn more mobs continuously while you're fighting it, so you're not really taking an impact to trash per hour or anything like that, since it's spawning those mobs. Whereas in the past, if you weren't running group with gatekeeper, they were just a complete nuisance and waste of time, kind of just being in the way. We don't have that anymore. So you'll get mobs. The one downside, and again, not to say Kadri's just so much better grind for your pot piece than this, but it sure is. The downside is that although the Kadri, both elites and gatekeepers, spawn mobs, they spawn a ton of the Kadri armored fighters, which are actually the mobs that have the ability to drop the full pot piece at once instead of the pity pieces, which can be really, really nice. Whereas at Crescents, the mob that drops that's actually the Crescent Guardian, and the gatekeeper does not spawn any Crescent Guardians whatsoever. So you're not going to have any increased likelihood of dropping the pot piece. Their pity pieces, obviously, with the drop rate event are going to be pretty nice across the board. So other than that, nothing new mechanically for here. We did have the big Valencia changes when they changed how trash loot works here. This one became an Agris-centric spot, similar to Centaurs. So it doesn't have the 3 trash loot cap. It caps at 7, actually. So it is pretty worthwhile for Agris if you're going to grind here. It's not going to beat out Centaurs for sure, as far as just raw money. But, there's other reasons you may want to be grinding this zone. And one of those could just be maybe you like it. But whatever the reason is, yeah, it's definitely Agris-centric for that amount. Depending on the type of scrolls you run, if you're running like just a yellow, you're going to get 4. Running yellow with the Agris is 7. If you don't want to run the yellow, you can actually run blue with Agris, and it's still going to give you 6 trash per mob. It's a guaranteed amount, like the Valencia zones are for that. It's not like a higher end zone where you may, you kill this mob, you get 2, and you kill this mob, but you got 3. Like there's a roll on it. There's not for these types of zones, so it's going to be locked in for those Agris amounts. But with that said, now that we've kind of covered what's been updated, let's go ahead and jump on over, take a look at the spreadsheets and see how we did. So we've got spreadsheets here, and I've got 2 sections as per usual for the most recent Valencia zones. So that we have, if we're running a yellow scroll by itself, and then this is actually yellow scroll with Agris. Typically in Valencia, we look at running blue scroll with Agris on it because of that 3 trash loot cap. But like I said, this being an Agris-centric spot, we actually have a 7 cap, so we went for the 7, running yellow scroll with Agris. So first thing, just talking about the raw averages here, 656 running the yellow with Agris, and 481 just running the yellow by itself. So this isn't super appealing to run without the Agris. It's definitely worthwhile, and overall, like usage-wise, as far as materials that you have available to you, depending on your number of scrolls, you may want to just run the blue with the Agris alongside it, since it is 1 trash loot difference there. Not a hefty difference, and it's an entire loot scroll more. So if those are of limited supply to you, that's something to consider. Something I always like to mention, and let's not just focus so much on the average, but let's look at our upper end and our lower end hours as well, which happen to be the very last 2 hours, just barely squeaked by. The lowest hour by a whole lot, 543 mil. It was also notably the only hour I did not get a Crescent ring. I got a raw drop Crescent ring almost every single hour, and then there were plenty of times I picked some up off of the soiled, since we did get a decent amount soil drop. Our upper end being 716 million silver. The absolute cap, there was other hours pretty close to that. My very first one, actually, because I had 3 rings, I believe that one was 1 raw drop and then 2 off soiled, if I remember that correctly, for it. Among this whole time, I only had 2 gatekeeper spawns in the 10 hours that we ran this, and very easy to tell when those were because they drop a lot of dust and a lot of black stones with it. So you can see here, these 2 hours here. So 629 on that and 696 on the other one. Had more so to do with our ring drops, of course. The trash loot remains roughly the same with it. You know, we were in the 39,000 range on average for it, just depending on how much talking to chat I was doing while we were streaming or what have you, that brought some differing results from there. The trace, since these have gone up in price, the trace of despair for the zone are actually pretty valuable for it, and it's kind of swingy how they drop, ranging from 17 to 40 was kind of wide and a little surprising. Scrolls was nothing like Kadri. We were in the 40 amount of scrolls per hour for that. This was, you know, between 10, 15, 1 hour, just as an outlier. It was 20, was also a gatekeeper hour, so there's that. It's decent for Caphras considering the gear level involved with it. Crystals are kind of whatever here. Dust is nothing unless you get a gatekeeper for the most part on it. Stones are terrible drop right here. A lot of petals compared to most places. You usually see like 1 an hour just as a world drop, but actually more petals here. The rings are what kind of make this, as you can see, the difference being like 200 mil difference if you're just not getting rings, you know what I mean, and or those soils aren't hitting an actual crescent ring. Obviously, it's not going to do that well. And 543 running Agris with a yellow loot scroll is not very impressive at all. Obviously, 716 is. Drop rate event is definitely a thing. I was running around 260 to 270 depending on nighttime spawns for total drop rate increase. To get these numbers. Yona fragments, I swear I've seen them drop here before, so this is why they're on the list. I did not drop a single one in 10 hours at all. And then I did mark pity pieces just because people were kind of interested, the amount of pity pieces that were dropping. We can see it was about 5 per hour on the actual range there, that going from 2 on our worst hour and 7 on our best, and never hitting those ever again. We were floating between that 4 or 5 and then a couple of 6s in there as well. For it. So right at about 5 pieces per hour, which is really, really solid. I mean, you're killing a lot of mobs very quickly. This doesn't have the same density for the mobs that drop the full piece as either Rhonoros or as the Kadri change to it. So that's something to keep in mind. But since you have just a ton of mobs, density-wise, much more than Rhonoros does in general, not only you're pulling more money per hour than you would have at something like Rhonoros, but you are potentially going to get more petty pieces on average, even with drop rate event compared to the 2, since you just do have a higher density in general. So overall, this isn't as game breaking as we saw Kadri being with these events going on. It's definitely worth checking out, at least, especially with the treasure events on, so that you can get that infinite HP piece if you're looking for it. Or like I said, if you just like the spot, some people prefer RNG spots just to grind, something like Star's End. You know, a lot of people still love that just because they like that idea of a high end drop. If that's kind of your cup of tea and you want to do that, I mean, we've got Crescent rings selling for 65 mil on the NA server right now. So, you know, getting those rings or getting multiple rings an hour feels pretty good. Not a bad one-shot spot grind. Maybe you just want to do something on season, or you want to check it out for the new season that's coming out. Although the treasure event won't be along with that, at least you can make some decent money, especially if you want to burn up some Agris. So yeah, nothing amazing, especially without Agris on it, but it's definitely worth a grind, change of scenery or something like that. Desert Disease does get annoying having it on there. If you have, you know, a class that has great HP regen, you probably don't even notice it. In my case, I obviously already have these infinite potions, so I just run that and kind of ignore it, but it can be annoying outside of that, so that's something to keep in mind since places like Kadri Centaurs don't have that desert sickness applying to those locations. That's something to consider as well. So there you have it for this one. Let me know what you guys think about Crescents in the comments down below. We're going to head to another spot to revamp for Valencia. I'm not entirely sure which one just yet. I may do Shiricon next. Just to go ahead and do a second round of HP potion because I did get the raw drop at Kadri. So I may just finish up Crescents before this event ends here, see if we can get at least the pity pieces finished. And then from there, just go to Shiricon, and then I'll probably do a video talking about my total amount of money made while grinding my second infinite HP potion. So that's kind of the idea at the moment. I'm not locked in on that, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you get notifications when new videos do go live. If you'd like to catch me playing live, there's a link to my Twitch page. You can jump on over there, drop a follow, so you get notifications for that as well. I do grind these on stream as well. So if you want to check out what project I'm working on next, or you want to look at the full hours that I was grinding these where I put them on the spreadsheet here, you can jump on, check out the VODs there, or just kind of see what's going on for the YouTube channel upcoming. With that said, that's going to be it for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.